All right. This trial, the trial of Natalie Cochran from West Virginia. Everyone is talking about this one. A couple of things that we really need to dive into on this. This is the woman accused of taking the life of her husband via insulin. The alleged motive, a Ponzi scheme that they were running or she was running, and he did know or he didn't know. And by the way, the victims of the Ponzi scheme included his parents who lost all their money. So does any of this add up? Does any of this make sense? That's what we're going to talk about. This is the Tangent Podcast. I'm Vinny Politan. With me, Al Wunsch the third, and the radio legend Jonesy. This is, folks, of course, the Tangent Podcast.
It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast.
Here we go. It's a Friday. Hope you're warm wherever you are, because I'm not.
Well, let me tell you something.
It's freezing cold down here in Georgia.
Let me tell you something. I went out today. It was 30 degrees, and I was thinking about wearing shorts. Okay, that's how warm it is here now. 30 degrees, Van. I'm sweating, and for all of you Viva la Tangenistas out there, I'm sweating with this 30-degree weather. Sweating.
Now, there was snow.
You know, I think people who wear shorts in the winter.
You what?
I think people who wear shorts in the winter, there's something wrong upstairs.
Well, you know what?
I don't understand it.
It's like being a show off.
Legs don't get cold. That's the old football thing. We used to do.
That's what I was told. Yeah.
When you played football, you could, as long as your head was covered and the top part of your body was covered, legs were never a problem. We would practice in shorts in 25-degree weather.
Uh-oh. I think some folks want some pictures of Alan shorts. All right. So let's talk about this case because there's several issues here. And let's start with the Ponzi scheme, okay?
Okay.
So they had a business, right? They're living in West Virginia, but they're living a good life. And his wife was a pharmacist. He apparently a little bit out of work. And they started a company to get these government contracts. And the testimony has been that she owned 51% of the company. He owned 49% of the company. The reason being they wanted a female-owned company because the thought was you have a better chance of getting the contract, the government contract. And I guess these were like defense contracts for weapons. Like they're setting up a company to be a middleman to deal weapons. Does that sound right? Like, can you just like do that?
Well, you can do anything you want. Whether or not it's successful is yet another question. But I mean,
did you see the movie War Dogs? Did anyone see that?
Yes.
No.
Yes, they did.
That was the premise, right? That's what they were doing in that movie.
And that's exactly what they're doing. And you can try to do that. And it's something that is very attractive because, like, you always read about the fact that, the Pentagon paid $24,000 for a toilet seat. And so if you're looking at something that you could possibly make a lot of money, that's an area that may be ripe to explore.
So the question becomes, right, if they're partners in this and she's running more of the books, the money, the banking of it all, right? Is it possible that he doesn't know about the Ponzi scheme?
No. I don't think that's humanly possible.
You don't?
No, I don't. Because the thing is this. I mean, he's the one who's going to be able to see if there's results or not results. Now, I mean, we've seen that there's been testimony that he's always looking on the computer and he's doing work on government contracts and stuff. So it does seem that he is being industrious and trying to generate the
Right.
contract.
So
But
if he's
he's
trying to
also-
get government contracts, why would he think this is a Ponzi scheme? Why wouldn't he just spend his time Ponziing?
Because what happens is this: he's seeing the money come in, but he's not seeing any money come in from the government contracts. So he knows that he's spending money that's not his. I mean, they lived a pretty.
No, it was a nice life. They lived a nice life. They think things were good.
I mean, they had boats, and not even boats. Okay, jet skis. They had this. They traveled to Paris. They went to Hawaii. They went all over the place. So I mean, this guy's got to realize, okay, that he's not using money that is coming in from the government contracts that he's generating because they're not getting them. Okay, that they're using the investors' money to live off of. So how did he not know that?
And I'm skeptical too, because I don't know how you could run this company from your couch in West Virginia or any other place in this country. Like, just sit on your couch and make money and put these deals together. It seems like you'd have to have connections, meet with people. I don't know. Maybe you can do it. I'm skeptical of anyone thinking or being able to do, but maybe people do. I mean, we may have people in the chat room who are running these amazing businesses, getting government contracts without leaving the home. But it doesn't seem like they had the background necessarily for this either. I'm skeptical. Jonesy,
Well,
you want in? Do you want in on this? Maybe we'll run a business like this.
Ooh.
Well, actually, I just had a thought. We're out of it, but we're coming out of the COVID era, and not a lot of like personal meetings went on back then. So, and a lot of the things that changed during the COVID era continued on. So, perhaps during that period, it was possible to run this thing from your couch in Virginia and not have to take a lot of meetings and stuff like that.
And it's very hard. Anything to do with government contracts is the connections are the key. And the connections come from the politicians. I mean, we've seen all this. You've seen abscam, and all the kinds of things that were going on with regards to people that wanted.
Wait. Did you just mention abscam?
Yes, I did. I did mention abscam.
Like 1977? Like, what is that? It was a black and white surveillance video.
It's timeless because as soon as you mentioned it, there was a little chuckle in my head.
It's a Jersey thing, so I brought it up. Okay. And what it was a sting operation where they were posing as Arab sheiks that were trying to get contracts and business with the government. And then they were paying off all of these senators and congressmen and legislators to be able to get those kind of contracts. So you do have to meet these people, and you do have to kind of get ensconced in that type of an atmosphere. You need the politicians to get these contracts.
Ooh. Not only do you have to meet them, but you have to take them on a boat ride, don't you? Didn't that come up in Goodfellas that Donnie Brasco?
That was Donnie Brasco that came up.
Donnie Brasco, that they used the same boat, and that's how that's how they nabbed or became suspicious of Donnie Brasco.
The left hand.
Yes.
That was in the boat.
Yes, that was quite a party.
Yes. With but so you do need an entree into that market in order to be able to even be considered for the purposes of that. And so you do need to have some sort of face-to-face interaction. It's not just sitting in your couch when you're dealing with government contracts. It's just simple. I mean, I have government contracts with regards to.
Whoa! You have government contracts?
Yeah, Ben. You know what I'm saying? No, I mean, if you're prosecutor, it's a government contract.
Right.
If you're a public defender, it's a government.
This is like the federal government we're talking about here. This
Okay,
is like
well, I'm not a federal prosecutor. I was state. I was a prosecutor. Okay, a state and a public defender state.
There's Abscam.
There's
There's
Abscam.
that video from
There you go.
Abscam.
There was a great song by what was that? Genesis. Oh no, that was Abacab. All right, same thing.
They're meeting with fake Arab. Did Abscam have anything to do with the DeLorean, or was that a different one?
No, that was a different one. The Abscam thing was the one that brought down Harrison Williams, who was a senator that was basically thought to be beyond reproach with regards to honesty, and they brought him down, and they brought down a whole bunch of people from Congress, and then mostly a lot of state legislators.
All right. So if you believe, do you believe he knew his parents had been ripped off by the company that he and his wife set up for all their money, or he was about to find out? Because they're about to take a trip to check out some bank, and before the trip ever happened is when he passes away. So that's what makes me very, very skeptical. Also, the manner of death is very different and strange here, but there are some interesting issues connected to it. But do you believe that there is no motive here? And does that end the case for prosecutors? Not that they have to prove a motive, but in a case of we're talking about a spousal red rum, it seems to me, I always believe you need to explain to the jury why they would want to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you that, especially on something along those lines. I mean, I can't imagine. See, this is why you mentioned about his parents, and that they were taking the money and stuff. I mean, I think deep down inside he was hoping that things were going to turn around with regards to same, but he certainly knew that they weren't bringing in anything except investors, and that they were using the money of their investors, including his parents, to live that highfalutin lifestyle.
Let me ask you this. A Ponzi scheme doesn't necessarily mean that the parents would lose money, right? If they were early in on the Ponzi scheme, don't they get their money back from some other investor? Isn't that how that works?
Well, that's initially that's what's supposed to happen, but I don't know if that was necessarily done here.
Yeah, I don't like the Madoff scheme ran for so many years, and there were so many investors that you were able to get that money flowing. Here, I don't know. I think the Ponzi was set up, but I don't know how much of it they distributed to any of the early investors. But you're right, Jonesy. If you get in early on a Ponzi scheme, you do well for a while. But then when the Ponzi scheme is uncovered, you have to pay back all that money.
Yeah, you end up getting jammed up on that. That's for sure. And
Even if you're not aware.
I'm sorry.
Even if you're not aware, if somebody takes me in a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, that's what happened to the New York Mets.
Yeah,
that's what happened to the Mets ownership. Why they didn't have money.
I always heard that the Mets made some money on that, so they had to pay it back, huh?
Yeah, initially they made money, lots of money. Sandy Koufax made a lot of money early on, but then you got to pay it back to the other victims because it's what do they call? What's the legal word? What is it?
Ill-gotten gains.
Ill-gotten gains. That's a good T-shirt. Ill-gotten gains is a good T-shirt.
It sounds like something your mom would say.
Ill-gotten gains. But it's what?
Deborah Miller watching today, one of the winners of one of the grand prizes during the Tangent trivia.
Gucci or Mercedes Benz, it's our cute little furry
Deborah Miller.
Wow.
I'm gonna check into that.
That's
With
that's like a nice little like White Snake version.
Yeah, Deborah Miller out there in
Megadeth,
LA.
White Snake. Nice. I like that.
She loves the
Very nice.
animals. She loves the
I
animals.
went to high school with Debbie Miller, and she was the second girl in Kearney High to go punk rock. It was scandalous. The first
Really?
one was my ex-girlfriend.
What did it mean to go punk rock?
It
What
meant
happened?
It meant that when you walk down Kearney Avenue, the long hairs would yell at you, "Hey, punk rocker!" It meant that you dyed your hair, maybe got an interesting haircut, started wearing what was fashionable in the punk rock scenes at that point, and listening to punk rock. But yeah, you were ridiculed. I mean, it was a Grateful Dead town. It was a Crosby, Stills, Nash Young town. And you couldn't walk down Kearney Avenue without somebody yelling from their car, "Hey, punk rocker!"
Crosby, Stills, Nash is like nice guy music. It's folksy. It's like all friendly kind of stuff, and they get
That was Kearney
nasty.
High. Yeah. Oh yeah. The hippies were nasty.
Shouldn't they have been into Dr. Hook
And the medicine show?
Well, those who listened to PLJ were, I guess.
On the
Well, he
cover
was
of the
local, though.
Rolling Stone.
Dr. Hook was from that area too.
Dr. Hook was from Union City, but they weren't from there. They all relocated and kind of like became famous there. They were from various parts of the country. I think one from North
Huey
Carolina.
Lewis is from New Jersey. Everyone thinks he's San Francisco. He's from New Jersey.
Wow.
So Dr. Hook was on the other end of a lawsuit that my father filed. My father represented his manager, and they had, just when they had gotten famous, not yet on the cover of Rolling Stone, but when they got famous,
picture on the cover,
they got rid of their manager, but he had a contract, so he's entitled to. So every time that Dr. Hook would come on the radio, my father would tell us, "Hey, we just made some more money." Boom.
A lot of musical people from New Jersey.
Yeah. It's a pretty good hotbed.
And comedians also good for that.
Yeah, David Cassidy had some Jersey connections.
Yes, he did. Absolutely. He lived in Jersey for a long period. I went to high school in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
Melanie of all people.
Brand new roller skate, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key.
Brand new key. Oh, hey now, slow down.
Lay down, candles in the rain. We weren't allowed to sing that song. We used to have sing popular songs in elementary school.
Right.
We weren't allowed to sing that one because of the imagery of him having a brand new key.
Right. Right.
Which, like we weren't thinking that way, and I still don't when I hear.
Let me ask you something. What was the meaning behind "My name is Michael, I've got a nickel"?
The song sucked. That's what it meant.
That was a good song, shiny and new.
He went on to host a Channel 9 talk show out of Atlantic City back when Channel 9 was local before it became a superstation. Or maybe
was
around
there
the
some
same
hidden
time.
meaning though behind that song? Like, was it really about "My name is Michael, I got a nickel," or was it something else? Was it? I never knew.
Yeah, I never really paid too much attention to it, and when it would come on, I would turn it off immediately.
Well, it's the playground. You know what it is? It's the playground in his mind. So he's returning to those innocent days when he had a nickel and he had a girlfriend named Cindy, and all that kind of stuff. I think. I think that he's fantasizing there. Playground in my mind.
Yes.
How about whatchamacallit? Rock and Roll Heaven by Ricky Nelson.
Oh.
Another Jersey boy.
Yeah. Well, listen, Deborah Demurick is only going to stay a few more minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what should we do something for Deborah to make her stay longer?
What? Maybe this day in, what's that word I'm looking for?
What?
The civil war to civil rights.
Now she's got to stay another 20 minutes.
All the revolution fights. World War I and World War II. I'll always knows who is who. pristine history, history, history. Now let's listen to his story.
All right, Al, what's your story today?
All right. Well, let's go back to January 24th, 1848. And I'm doing this in honor and in complete respect and love and prayers for our California friends who are still going through that nightmare out there. Gold is discovered in Sutter's Creek, California. So it begins the the California gold rush, where these people all picked up from the East Coast and moved over to the West Coast searching for gold, and they were called the 49ers, and hence that's where the football team comes from. Okay.
Look at that.
They would buy their equipment, believe it or not, in Seattle, and then they would go down into California for the purposes of trying to make it rich on that.
Let me ask you, Jonesy, if this was back in the day and you heard there was gold out there, would you be part of the gold rush? Would you be out there looking for your fortune? Would you make that trip?
I don't think so. I'm not outdoorsy enough. I'm not manly enough to be digging holes and that kind of thing. I think I'd probably go to Seattle and sell them the equipment instead.
That's a good idea.
That's not a bad idea. That's how Seattle made their fortune, believe it or not.
Or you just go online and you sell the stuff. That way you could just stay here.
There you go.
All right. Now, on this day in 1935, the first canned beer was introduced. And it was the Kruger's Cream Ale from Newark, New Jersey.
Wow.
And it was the first time that canned beer had been introduced, and it was a big hit. And it sparked tremendous sales for Kruger's, but obviously it didn't do too well because no one's ever heard of Kruger's Cream Ale anymore.
I would have guessed Schlitz.
Schlitz. No, it was not. Schlitz is always, I think Budweiser's from New Jersey too, by the way. Okay.
Well,
and then
North was a hotbed. North was a hotbed for beer breweries.
Yes.
In fact, there's a giant sign across from Newark Airport. People may have seen that's Anheuser-Busch.
Yep.
It's a big red neon sign. I was on a train once, and Mars was supposed to be visible that night. And I looked out my window, and this is how Jersey I am. I saw the Anheuser-Busch sign, which is round, and I thought, like, wow, man, like it's Mars. That's true story. Continue, Al.
on this day,
One question on that. So
Yes.
I go for a walk in the morning a lot, and I often take one of these with me, right?
Right.
And I've been approached by more than one person who thought I was drinking alcohol in the morning.
Really?
Does this look like any alcoholic drink? Like
No, it's the
bottle?
paper bag that screws everybody up. See, when you keep it in the paper bag, then they automatically assume it's some alcoholic beverage. Trust me.
Yeah, but people are like, they come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm like, it's water. It's water."
Isn't there a vodka, like a high-end vodka that comes in blue bottles? But that's all I can think of.
I think there's a high-end gin that comes in blue bottles.
Crazy.
But all right, so 1975, great moments in food history. The first McDonald's drive-through opened in Arizona.
Oh.
So 1975 is the first drive-through. Now, on true crime history on this day, 1/24, 1989, Ted Bundy meets old Sparky. 2,000 volts were put into him. He lasted for less than an hour. Less than a minute.
An hour.
Less than an hour. His last meal. I know we always like to hear what the last meal was. He made no request for a last meal, and it's interesting. But the prisons that have old Sparky and that do executions have a default last meal, and the default last meal is a steak and eggs, buttered toast with jam, hash browns, coffee, and juice. And that's what he was given, and he did not eat any of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Who can eat at a time like that?
Well, his last words were, Jim and Fred, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends. That was his last words. Jim and Fred were his lawyer and his minister. When he was executed, Florida State, where he had Red Rum 2
Right.
co-eds, had a celebration. It was a barbecue. They were serving Bundy burgers and electrified hot dogs. And the banner for the picnic was watch Ted fry, watch Ted die. His
Good for
body,
them.
interestingly enough, was cremated, and it was scattered over some mountains that he had actually took 4 of his victims, which was really kind of disturbing to me that they would have allowed that. It was up in Washington, so the Cascade Mountains up in Washington. So it was an interesting scenario. He is finally they had him up to about 30 red rums that he was responsible for. They think it was a lot more. He was bargaining to give exact locations for people he said that he had red rummed, so that they could find their bodies. And then he finally said enough is enough, and then he was executed. And if you ever get a chance to watch his trials, they're unbelievable. I mean, including one where he puts a witness up and then proposes to her in the middle of a trial. He was his own attorney during the trial. And does anyone know what the phrase is for men or women that have a strong sexual interest in people who commit crimes? It's hybristophilia is the name is the word that is used. Hybristophilia. HYBRISTOPHILIA. And that is women and or men. It's more common with women. It's not that common with men that have a strong identification with despicable human beings like Bundy, Ramirez, a number of other individuals that were serial red rummers. And
I think to a lesser extent, there are some who like bad boys, right? Growing up,
I was just thinking of that. Is this like taking that to the extreme? Because when you like the bad boy, I mean, that's like a thing.
Well, you can't get much worse than these individuals.
So that's like an extreme version of it.
That is what that's what happened today. And
wait a minute. Look who's in the chat. Carol Ann A., one of our other grand prize winners of their own theme song.
It's Christmas in September. She's been watching court TV forever. On the A-list she is Carol Ann, but we all call her Wonder Woman. Carol Ann A., making our day. What will you say? Carol Ann A., Carol Ann A., come on, let's play. Today is the day. Carol Ann A., Carol Ann A., Carol Ann A., Carol A.
Carol Ann A.
That is very, very Smokey Robinson.
Isn't it?
Yes,
I love
very
it.
Smokey
I love
Robinson.
it. And
one other thing I just want to bring up for today, just to bring this up, a very sad situation. On this day in 1965, Winston Churchill died.
Oh,
The great man.
he was good. He was good. He was good at his job.
He's good.
He was good. You know what the interesting thing about Winston Churchill is? So Winston Churchill gets them through World War II. I mean, if he doesn't come in and do what he did, England probably would have fallen to the Nazis. As soon as the war is over, England's the population threw him out of office.
Wow.
He lost his job. They took him out as prime minister. He eventually came back. But, you go through all this, you do everything he did, and guess what? They go, all right, see ya. And that was it. So it's an interesting little note. Most people don't know that, but he was taken out of office by the people he saved.
That's crazy.
During World War II.
So April says it does look like alcohol. April Diaz.
What?
And Carol Sue Scott says Zima was in a blue bottle. Do you guys know what Zima is? I don't know.
Yeah, Zima was a clear, like some sort of a liquor that was like very popular in the early 90s,
Late 80s.
Yeah,
Somewhere around there. I remember they started selling it at the Loop, and I was appalled. But the
Look at that.
younger ladies loved it.
Now, Ashley Bouchard, of course, one of the mods on
Yay.
Facebook, says they make Budweiser in metal blue bottles. I know.
Oh yeah,
none of this.
yeah, I've seen those. You get those
Yeah,
at
right, Bud
ballparks
Light.
and stuff
Bud
like
Light is in that, but
throw
that's
it
not
in
the
a bottle.
yeah. The Bud Light is a blue bottle. That's correct.
Tough love is loving the music. Vinnie Politan keeps the tunes coming. They're really sticking in my head. They're all
That's
very
not a good
catchy.
thing.
They're all very catchy. Carolina. Also, what do we have here? Frankie Figs getting us back on track here. Too much insulin is lethal, says Frankie Figs, who again, another one of our moderators.
Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack. We've got order in this chat. The Mod Squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The Mod Squad is on the job, always so nice and never mean.
All right, big thanks to our Mod Squad. We got Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Stube, and of course Ashley Broussard is over on the Facebook. Great stuff. So let's talk about the insulin, because this, this hits home. You may not know, but I've been stricken, Jonesy, with the diabetes.
Oh.
I've got the type 1 diabetes, the good kind.
Right.
Only kidding. There is no good kind of diabetes, but I do use that line all the time.
Yes, but you have no judgment against you because it just happened. Whereas, when you're in my shape, if you're diabetic, people will probably make a little bit of a judgment.
They are that way, aren't they? People are judgy. So the insulin. And this is the part of the case, right? So they're claiming that insulin is the instrument of the act, right? That she somehow, the only way you can get insulin into someone is it has to be injected. It can't be put into a drink. It's not like antifreeze, right? We've covered that trial. It's not like arsenic or something. No, insulin needs to literally be injected with a needle. So here's the question: how do you get the insulin into somebody without them knowing?
You tell them,
that for a second.
Tell them it's something else.
What's that?
You tell them it's something else.
Okay.
Shooting them up with something. Well, look, I mean, let's take a look. This guy was taking supplements like there was no tomorrow. Okay. I mean, and anything he thought that could possibly help him with his look.
He's a good-looking guy, by the way. He's a good-looking guy.
But I mean, he was very, very concerned about being, in shape, being cut, the whole 9 yards. He was taking all different types of supplements. I mean, it seems like GNC had a very nice contract with him.
But he's not alone. There are a lot of people that do that. GNC has a good business. I mean,
and I'm not in any way, saying that it's improper. But I mean, this guy, anything that he could find that could possibly help him to be stronger, faster, anything along those lines, I think he would take. And I was looking online to see if there was anything about insulin that would say that, it would help you with this, it would help you with that. I look at the way wrestlers will take anything that they think they can use to get that advantage, for performance wise and everything along those lines. And I don't know, maybe he read something that insulin is there.
No, last night on the program, I had a bodybuilder trainer guy, and he says in the last 10 years, there's a lot of folks who were doing bodybuilding who are now using insulin to get mass.
That doesn't surprise me. That's what I was going to say, is that I'm seeing stuff that is talking about, that everybody is looking for the edge. Everyone is looking for the fountain of youth. What
do you use, Al? What do you use? What do you use for your edge?
I use Chalks. Chalks vitamins.
I have recent experience with this.
And Flintstones chewables, they get me going, and I'm not afraid to mention that.
I have recent experience with this. Okay, I had a big stage show, radio remote last week, and recently I've gotten rheumatoid arthritis. and I haven't in the winter weather. I haven't been moving well. I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of my audience, by hobbling in and stuff like that. So I spoke to my doctor. Was there anything I could do? And I was offered a 5-day pack of steroids that would, magically make me perform better and seemingly be. So, the thing is, I come from an era where, like, I did a lot of bad things as far as drugs are concerned. But the funny thing is, I shy away from prescription and over the counters. I recently had some side effects from some medicine that they gave me that actually like made me like nutsy cuckoo. And I didn't know if I was coming back for like a month, and gave me like massive insomnia. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, something, I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to see if I can't get by on adrenaline and Advil. So I popped 3 Advils. I walked into the room, and suddenly I was dancing. So I shied away from the steroids, but I did turn to that sort of drug, and it's not the same as weightlifters, to try to be better, to try to be a better performer, to try to look better.
Well, I had one, like, as a diabetic, I have to stay away from steroids because they elevate your blood sugar and you can't control it. There's nothing you can do. But I was down at the beach, and I had rolled my ankle, and I'd been doing physical therapy for like 2 months, and I still couldn't get back on the basketball court. I'm on vacation down at the beach, and I start getting like this infection in my throat, and I'm like, it's going to kill my whole vacation. So I go to the local doctor, and he had
butts.
sort of, but like, he prescribed so many things. One of the things he prescribed was a steroid. And this was before I had really done a lot of research about it. But I knew the steroid would elevate my blood sugar a little bit, but I was like, I don't want to get this thing. So I took 1 dose, right? 1 dose, cleared all this up. My face started getting puffy. One day I got the Jerry Lewis one, and I think it was it might have been prednisone, which Jerry Lewis was taking, right?
Right.
All of a sudden I looked in the mirror. I was like, oh, like, it wasn't like this, but it was like, whoa, what just happened? So I'm like, I'm not taking any more. And then all of a sudden I noticed I had 0 pain in my ankle. I'm telling you, physical therapy, like every, going to the place, 3 times a week, plus doing the exercises at home. I couldn't shake this ankle that I had rolled. I took 1 pill, and I was like, let's go, baby.
It's a miracle drug. The prednisone is a miracle.
The thing is, think about what else it's doing to you if it can do that. Because it was prednisone that I was offered, and I did take it once before last September when I had like an important DJ gig, and I didn't have physical strength to lift speakers. I was in bad shape last September.
Why didn't you call Al? Al would have come down and carried your speakers.
He would have to go across 2 rivers. He'd have to go to Brooklyn in order to do it. And
doesn't like going to Brooklyn.
In New Jersey, we have a 1 river rule, and mine is the Driscoll Bridge. But so I was on the prednisone as well, and it did warn you, as does the steroid cream, which I am given for psoriasis, that you can get the puffy face that Jerry Lewis had, the moon face they call it, like the honeymooners.
Yeah,
and you got that with 1 pill. That's amazing.
1 pill, but like, I don't know if everyone would have noticed, but because I'm so vain, because I'm on television, I'm always looking at myself. Like I felt it like down here, like I'd never seen this part get like kind of puffy, and it was really weird. And I was like, it took a few days for it to work its way through, so it didn't stick. Like by the end of vacation, it wasn't noticeable to me anymore. But I was like, wow. But it was 2 things. It's like, now I know why athletes take steroids, because it's not so much about getting big for all of them. It's about getting back on the field, getting back on the court.
Well, that's steroid.
You heal so quickly, right? But then the obvious danger that it's doing all these other things to you, that's making you moon face. Who knows what else it's doing to you? So I was like, I will not. Like, I've been offered, because I've had other problems, shoulders and stuff. And I said, no, I'm not going to do them. I'm just no more steroids for me. But and Channy, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great to see you. And Fancy Nancy is here. Cheers to Fancy Nancy.
Hey,
Oh, no.
Fancy
I'll give her
Nancy.
the blue bottle cheer. Fancy Nancy.
Hey, Vinny, how do we know you haven't turned to alcohol?
How do we know? Have you been watching the show? Have you been watching the show? It's clearly that I am still sober all these years. Happy Friday, Vinny and the Tangents from Cat TV. Jonesy, you have cats?
Ooh.
You have a cat, don't
I
you?
have a cat. Yes, I have a cat named Princess. She came pre-named. And she's a little menace. She's trying to get up here and mess with the computer right now.
Really? Al,
But
cat
people,
No, I had fish. That was
fish.
it.
So what about the cat people, Jonesy?
well, cat people will buy anything with a cat on it, and they'll watch anything with a cat in it. Like the YouTube like cat videos. Like you go to them and they have like 7 billion views with cats doing silly stuff. So cat lovers are true and true, and you can make a buck from them probably because Vinny has a store. You put a cat on one of those cups, and your sales will go through the roof.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna do it. We'll do a cat. We'll do a cat shirt. Listen, Lisa Koch. This hits home to me as well. This insulin case is so disturbing on so many levels. I worked for a world-renowned diabetes researcher. Type 1 is curable if pharma wasn't so greedy. Absolutely, I agree, 10,000%.
It's definitely reversible. I mean, I definitely believe that it's reversible. Your diet can reverse it.
Yeah, but there's, and I've seen some of because I follow most of them because a lot of this information is posted online. Like we're this close, we're doing this test, we're doing that test, and then I'll see like a test all of a sudden gets slowed down by the government, and all these tests for curing type 1. There's no danger to the people who are in the trials. The only thing that happens is whatever treatment you're getting won't work and your blood sugar will go up, but there's no instant danger to you. So if it starts going up, then you take insulin and you'll get it back down. So it's not like there's an immediate danger to anyone who's in these trials, but they slow them down. And I am so extremely skeptical. I'm with you, Lisa, and you've got inside information, having worked in that area. So it's interesting to see your note. It confirms what I believed, but I wish I was wrong.
But like, all right. So going back to this case with regards to like the insulin aspect. Okay. Now this woman is an apothecary. Okay. She is a pharmacist. She knows interactions. She knows how things can work and things along those lines. The insulin stays in your system. Okay. I mean, wouldn't she be smart enough to use something that would not necessarily stay in your system? Also, something that didn't need to be injected, as opposed to that insulin.
You can look at it two ways, though, Al. The other way is because now, according to the third interview, it's not until her third interview with a trooper that she concedes that, oh yeah, he was injecting himself with insulin. So if you know your husband is injecting himself with insulin, and all of a sudden he becomes non-responsive and collapses in the kitchen, do you think, maybe a little light bulb will go off over your head? Like, oh, he was taking insulin. Maybe he's got a low blood sugar. Maybe I should give him something with sugar in it, or I should call 911 so they can give him one of those shots that they give to people who are suffering like diabetics, who inadvertently the balance goes off and they end up with this dangerous low blood sugar. Like, she would know that. Insulin is extremely common. Pharmacists know about insulin, the upside and the downside. This is not some obscure medicine. It's been around for years and years, and everyone knows who's in the know, which would be pharmacists, obviously doctors, and people who have diabetes will know.
But it's just, this guy is so obsessed. I mean, the daughter testified that he would have like 40 to 50 supplements a day. They would cover a plate. That's how many different things he was taking.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, here's my theory. You want to hear my theory?
Yes.
So to me, the biggest obstacle for prosecutors, and I don't know if they can overcome it. I don't know if they can, but she's going to take the witness stand, and that changes everything.
Yep.
Is how does the insulin get in him? If he's injecting himself, then she's not guilty, right? So that's one way. The other way is we know he's taking steroids, and these are injectable steroids that he's taking, not oral steroids. He's injecting himself. So she could go home, get a syringe, empty the steroid vial, then go to the insulin vial, take the insulin out of the insulin vial, and put that into the steroid vial. Then he would believe he's giving himself steroids when he's actually giving himself a large dose of insulin, because I've got to think the dosage of insulin, you can't dose yourself insulin without, you've got to counterbalance that with food, with carbohydrates. Otherwise, you are going to crash. So you're not knowingly going to give yourself a large amount of insulin without offsetting it if you have half a brain, right? If you have half a brain. So I believe this is the only way it could have done. Can they prove that?
They didn't prove it. That wasn't even part of the state's
right.
case.
But she may take this. She said she's taking the witness stand.
Yeah, I know.
You never know what's going to come out of her mouth or how things could get tripped up. So to me, that's a big thing. But to me, that's the head scratcher I've had from the beginning, because I know what it feels like to have a needle stuck in you and having insulin injected, right? Because I did it that way for a year when I first became diabetic. And and those sticks sometimes are good. Sometimes you get a bad stick. If you stick yourself, because you got to go into the fatty tissue. And if you get like a good spot of fat, like you got to find a spot. Sometimes you pinch on your side. You can pinch maybe on your thigh. Some people on the back of their arm, you can get a little bit of a spot, but you got to kind of pinch it and then stick it. Because if you just stick it, especially with a bodybuilder, you're going to hit muscle. And when that needle hits the muscle, that hurts. It hurts. I've done that. It hurts. So to get it in, to me, is the mystery for me on how she could inject him with insulin without him knowing, unless there was a switcherooski of the insulin with the steroid.
At this stage of the game, the state didn't even advance that. So you're right. She's taking the stand, but I don't know how she's going to say, yeah, I switched it. I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, I think it's a smart move on her part to take the stand in this, because the state's case is so bizarre. And the testimony that's been leading up to this point of her getting on the stand, I think has been beneficial.
Jonesy, I think Gen X wants you to try some topical magnesium oil.
Topical magnesium oil.
Yeah.
And what would that be good for, of my many ailments?
Yeah, maybe for your, what did you say you had, osteo?
It goes great over ice cream.
I have I mentioned having psoriasis and having rheumatoid arthritis.
Rheumatoid arthritis, maybe for the arthritis. And I think the viewers, if you do in fact apply the topical magnesium, if you could just get a video of that.
Yes, I would do that. Actually,
that'll be the grand prize at the next Tangent Christmas Special Trivia Contest. The winner gets the Jonesy magnesium oil video.
You hear so many things though, and I totally trust her. But you hear so many things when you have ailments. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? I was told like coconut oil and all this, and it just seems like things don't necessarily work for everybody. But yeah,
right.
I give that.
Do you trust Chuck Norris?
Absolutely. Who doesn't trust Chuck Norris? He'll knock your head off if you don't. Well, I remember that one scene where the car was coming at him with the bad guy in it, and he leapt into the air, and his foot went through the windshield and crushed the guy's face. That was beautiful.
So Chuck Norris, he's like 80 now, and
Yeah.
he popped up on my social media feed, and he and his wife are like running around playing with the grandkids, and he's doing
Cool.
workouts and he's doing all this stuff. I'm like, how does he do it? Well, guess what? He's got a product.
Cocaine.
Oh,
Oh.
And
yeah.
guess who ordered it? Guess who ordered it?
you.
Yep. I don't want to do a commercial here,
Cool.
but I'm telling you right now.
You don't. That's interesting. You don't strike me as a guy who would see these sort of ads and say, "Oh, wow, I'm going to get that," because
But
there's
it
so
was
many
Chuck
of
Norris.
them. But yet you trust it. It was Chuck
It was
Norris.
Chuck
Yeah,
Norris.
I hear you.
It was Chuck Norris. Like he's really old, right?
So
I know.
if it was Robert Blake, you wouldn't buy it.
No, but
Okay.
and I know he works.
What if
out
it was
and stuff.
Mick Jagger? What if Mick Jagger had a youth
Mick
serum
Jagger.
on the market?
Yeah, well, Mick Jagger's still bouncing around on the stage.
I might have to go with the Mick Jagger thing because I mean I just saw him bouncing around the stage, and I mean he's incredible for
Yeah.
his age.
Well, he
Yeah.
needs to pop up on my social media feed with a product. I'll take a
And I
look
gotta
at
tell
it.
you, and Rod Stewart didn't look too bad bouncing around the stage either, and he's 80, so
Yeah.
whatever would use them.
And a few years ago, I saw Ringo, and Ringo was the same thing.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
He was bouncing. He's the oldest Beatle of all.
Yeah,
Do you know that
So-
Ringo Starr had a policy that he answered every piece of fan mail? In fact, there's a Simpsons episode that parodies that and jokes about Marge having written him in the 60s and then receiving a letter. He would answer everything. He once announced that 1 year from today, I will no longer accept new mail. It's overwhelming and I can't answer them all.
Wow.
I couldn't do it to the guy, like send him a letter when he just made a plea that this is it. But I wish I had known, if you write Ringo Starr, he'll write back.
He writes back. Yeah, that's amazing. He was a great performer. Sarah Elena Peterson with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Sarah. And hey, look at this. We kept Deborah stayed. You see, she said she was going to leave in a few minutes. We had this day in history, and now she's hooked. Deborah, thank you so much.
what can I say?
Thank you. Look at this. She stayed for the chat. We appreciate it.
Yay. Thank you, Deborah. It's a valuable lesson for all of us. Stay.
It's just you gotta stay, 'cause you don't know what's going to happen.
Longer.
You don't know where this thing is going to go. So, what are you? So I think prosecutors have a problem, and that's why I am shocked that there was a commitment by the defense that the defendant is going to testify. Do you think there's any chance that they go back on it?
Yes. Well, look, you say that you don't have to do it. That's why this is done outside the presence of the jury.
Right.
Okay. It's not like the jury's sitting there going like, "Oh, she said she's going on," and then they go, "Wait a minute, what do you mean she's not going on? We were promised." So you do that outside the presence of the jury, and then what ends up happening is because I think that affects the way the prosecution runs their case too. So it's an interesting, theory to throw that out there. It's a nice little game plan, and you now get the prosecution going, well, where are we going? Where are they going with this? What are they doing? So you have to rethink how you're going to be presenting your crosses on this. So
interesting. So it's kind of like baseball, like when you send somebody out to the on deck circle, but their name's not announced yet, so they're not officially in the game, and the other team plays it as though this guy's coming to bat, and then you pull them.
Right. Yep. The head games in a trial are important. Okay, they're very important because there's not a lot that we can do there. Unlike what you see on, Perry Mason, the surprise witness who comes out of nowhere.
Right.
It doesn't happen in
But
trial.
they don't come out of nowhere, Al. They're usually sitting in the gallery watching the trial.
Well, no, the door opens and it's them, coming in. But
I watched an episode last night.
Did you?
Perry Mason? Perry Mason?
Yeah, I watched an episode last night.
That's how he prepares for the podcast every week.
Yes,
Gets pumped up. That's like his.
Da-da-da-da. Still the best song.
Sometimes
Best
I watch
lawyer
Law
song
and
of
Order.
all time. That theme is the best.
Probably.
lawyer song of all time. There's nothing better than that.
Just by how much it's parodied, along with the Jeopardy theme, that's also parodied a lot.
Yep.
You know that it's very effective.
But not as catchy as some of the themes on this program.
Well, no, that's night and day. Night and day.
Squad is on the
You
job.
are the one.
I mean, our
Mrs.
closing
JM
Peter Murphy goth song of Bauhaus is just, I mean, that's just remarkable. I mean, in fact, if you guys get a chance, go see Peter Murphy in concert or Bauhaus in concert.
I have.
And go play the song. Well, I know you have. So have I. But and ask him to play the song from this show. Okay.
Mrs.
Don't want to
JM.
confuse him too much. His last tour was postponed or canceled due to drugs, so you don't want to confuse the guy too much.
Yikes. Mrs. JMD, see you soon. Going to pick up my husband from the airport.
Oh,
What's your policy about getting picked up at the airport?
Well, if they've got exact change, they can have me.
I've instituted you don't have to pick me up at the airport.
Well, that's nice.
We're probably an hour, right? A little less than an hour, 50 minutes to the airport if everything goes right. So that turns into a 2.5 hour chunk right there. I'm like, listen, I'm going to Uber. I'll just Uber. And I don't know. I think it depends, who's coming, how long they've been away. But I've tried to institute a policy. I said, listen, no, I know you want to and you would, and I appreciate that, but I'll just Uber. I'll jump on the Uber. That way
it's easier. It's easier.
Yeah.
You know what a nightmare it is to have to put somebody in that position. There's nowhere you can wait. Okay.
That's the other problem. At some of the airports.
All right, move on, buddy. Luckily, I have a badge, so I flash that, and they let me stay. But for the most part, okay, it's an
whoa.
Privileged, are we? Misuse of a badge.
A badge for what?
Retired prosecutor.
Retired. I have one of those too, but it's on a plaque.
Okay, well, that's
carrying your wallet.
That's the stupid difference between you and me. I have it in my wallet with my ID card, and you just give it the old tin.
So you're looking for special treatment from the same police officers you have to defend for doing such things.
Oh, that's half the other reason why, because it's the Port Authority, and they're one of my clients. So as long as they see your name, you're fine. But even then, here's my trick. I wait for the people on the incoming level, not the what you call it, the leaving, the departing level, not the incoming level, because the cops are not down there. The cops are up at the people who are waiting that that the plane lands. But if you wait downstairs, there's usually no police there. They'll come by every now and then, but you wait there. You can wait there without having.
Depends on the airport. Some of the airports, Atlanta has done a great job.
At Newark Airport, I don't know if this exists.
What? I'm sorry.
You're up, Jonesy. Can we hear you?
He froze.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, so at Newark Airport, I don't know if this exists in other states or not. I drive around the exits around that a lot. I use those a lot. And it's become a practice for decades now of cars to park on the shoulder on exit ramps and stuff like that. Which, I'm stunned that the police allow that to exist, and they sit there and they wait for the phone call or they wait for the alert that the plane had landed. So, what's worse? Clogging the airport.
I'm just telling you right now, Jonesy. Go into Newark when you're going to pick somebody up. Tell them to meet you in the departing level. There's never a cop down there chasing you. So there's a little today.
Atlanta, the world's busiest airport. It's the busiest in the world. They have built a place for people to actually wait. And so you don't have to wait in front. There's a place to wait, but the police at Atlanta, oh my, in 2 seconds, they are just on you. Let's move it. Because it's a crazy busy airport. But they did do a really nice job of building a place where you can wait. So that's appreciated. Now, Anywhere with You is asking or saying, I'm taking a steroid for a pulled back muscle. Immediate relief. Good. But now I can't quit looking in the mirror to see if my face is puffy. Thanks, Vinny.
Don't watch the Jerry Lewis telethon.
Jerry Lewis, like, people are so judgmental. Like, a lot of people picked on Jerry Lewis for various reasons, but a lot of people picked on him as a result of that, when it was so obvious that he was going through some sort of medical situation, was a result of the steroids.
Jerry Lewis was that telethon was the greatest. It was the greatest.
Yeah. Legendary.
And I believe, like, he was genuine.
Yeah,
I felt like I sometimes on these things you don't feel like someone is
right.
legit. You know what I mean? Like him, I felt like all of that was absolutely genuine. Everything he said that he felt, the emotions that would come out, that obviously would be, I think, escalated because of the lack of sleep. But I mean, to me, it was real. Like it was nothing close to that even happens today.
No, you don't see that
like he did.
But Jerry had a lot of issues and could be a very bitter person. It was, very sad. Even the way, they got rid of him. I mean, MDA just basically pushed him out.
Yeah. He only had a couple more years left. They could have just let him ride off into the sunset, but they unceremoniously fired this guy that made everyone aware of MDA. And I used to pledge because of Jerry Lewis's sincerity. I stopped when they did that. I was, I know that's bad form on my part because people are still out there suffering, but you don't mess with Jerry Lewis.
How many pens in your pocket, Al? Asks Fancy Nancy.
5. 5. It's tradition. The two most superstitious positions in sports are center and pitcher. And I was a center in football, and I was a pitcher in baseball. So I can tell you that my first trial, I had 5 pens in my pocket because I didn't want to make sure that there was going to be any chance that the pen wouldn't write. And won that trial. And so ever since, I've had 5 pens in my pocket.
Straightforward asking, isn't prednisone used for adult acne?
I don't know for a lot of things. But I mean, I got to tell you, it is a miracle drug. Like Vinny's, you were 100% correct. You take that and you're dancing on the.
Let me ask you a question though. Would you rather have acne or a clear puffy face, or a regular face with some acne?
Oh, my acne was so bad. I fell asleep on a park bench. Some blind guy was reading my face.
Which would you rather have, Jonesy?
Jonesy is.
I'd go with the puffy face. I'd rather have
puffy face. Puffy face.
I'd rather have a puffy face.
But I think there's other things you can do for acne that wouldn't make you puffy. You get maybe Stridex pad. Remember Stridex?
Sure, of course. I think they still have Stridex.
Oh, yeah. Still have Stridex?
Clearasil, Oxy 5.
Yeah. Oxy 5. That was the single most.
Oxy 5. That was.
That was the big time stuff.
Yeah,
there's the hard edge.
Yeah, their ad campaign pretty much buried Clearasil, right? I mean, Clearasil was the one for the longest time.
And Clearasil's still around, and they're still doing pretty good. They got actually a pretty big share of that.
But there was a period when Oxy 5 made it seem like they were the super cure.
Yeah, it was like the super.
Benzoyl peroxide.
Yes.
Or
BP. BP. So,
because
let me ask you this. Which one of our favorite TV characters put makeup on his acne?
Everybody. If it's you asking this question, it could only be Vinny Barbarino.
No.
It wasn't John Travolta?
No. Richie Cunningham.
I was gonna guess Richie Cunningham because of his
There
complexion.
was an episode where he's putting makeup on his acne. Now, what I don't know is if it was an actual episode of Happy Days or if it was one of the episodes of Happy Days on Love American Style, from where Happy Days came
Right,
from.
Where it
that
started
was,
from.
that
Right,
was
right,
the
right.
pilot. Yeah, and they
That
lived
was
in
the
an
pilot.
apartment.
Love American Style was
Oh
I
gosh.
love that show, and
Truer than the red, white, and blue.
And the premise of the plot on American Love American Style for Happy Days pilot was that they were the first family to get a television on the block, if I'm not mistaken. But Love American Style was pretty cool, and they'd have those little vignettes in between.
Mm-hmm. And the
Love
great
American Style.
Truer Than the Red, White, and
Red,
Blue.
white, and blue.
That was an ABC show, I believe.
Yes. ABC
It's
was
you
like
and
the
you.
Fox of its time because, NBC and CBS existed forever, and then they were the new kids on the block in like what, 60 or something like that, 61.
Yep.
So that they would do a little bit more unusual programming. They would take some chances back in the early days, much the way Fox did with X-Files and 90210.
But
Yep.
this is what, like, and back in the days when TV shows theme songs had words. You don't see that anymore.
They don't even do theme songs. I mean, they do abbreviate. They'll do like 10 seconds, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just to roll a couple of credits. And I guess
Bewitched has words. Steve Lawrence does a version of Bewitched with words, which like kind of, I don't know if they added the words afterwards, which is what happened with some instrumentals back in the day.
Well, MASH had words, but they didn't use it. MASH, Suicide is Painless is the name of that song. Right. And that was in the movie.
Down.
I'm sorry?
I play that on the air every now and then when I'm feeling down.
Yeah, that's
all
nice.
right. So does she or doesn't she take the witness stand? Tuesday would be the day. Does Natalie Cochran take the stand in her own defense? They already told the judge that she's going to testify. We've been talking about this case, all the obstacles they have. I believe that she is responsible. I just don't know if the jury will be convinced, all 12, beyond any and all reasonable doubt.
I mean,
but I think her testimony could change everything either way.
Well, the problem with putting her on the stand is that, like, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the defense counsel basically just say, yeah, the woman's a fraud? I mean, like, she basically, she was involved in this Ponzi scheme. She's doing almost 12 years for that crime. And so putting her on the stand, I don't necessarily think is a great move from a strategic standpoint. And then after the testimony of the kids, basically Dad was taking a lot of crap. Dad was having headaches. Dad was having some problems. Dad,
wait. All right, Dad is having some problems. So are you disputing the cause of death? You think the cause of death is in play, that it's not insulin?
I don't think that I'm disputing that they have a nexus between her and injecting him with insulin. I'm disputing that. There's no testimony that says that that's been going on. There's no testimony that the daughter said, well, I used to see Mom shooting him up all the time.
Right.
And, anything along those lines. There's no testimony to that. The testimony is this guy would take anything if it was going to make him look better, or it was going to make him stronger, or it was going to make him faster. I mean, they testified that he was exceedingly jealous. Okay, so that he had, this an aggression, which is typical of people, abusing steroids. All right, so that you've got a guy who is very vain. Okay, and he's always thinking that his wife is going to be with somebody else. So he's trying to maintain his best look humanly possible. And I think they've demonstrated that with the testimony of the kids, and even the sister-in-law, that this guy would do anything to make him stay youthful, look good, and be in shape. So I think I don't think she should take the stand. I think they've demonstrated that they can't prove this case.
What I don't like about the defense is they're doing a little bit of the spaghetti defense,
Okay.
and where listen, and I think it wasn't the insulin that did it; it was all these other things that were going on that did it. But if it was the insulin, she didn't inject it. Yet she is the one who brought the insulin into the home under a false pretense, getting it from a neighbor. So, like, she is connected to the insulin. So they do have that. And I think that's a huge problem. But again, you've got to figure out how, all right, she brings the insulin into the house, but how does she get the insulin into him?
Into him. Right. And like you
that's
said,
a problem. That's the problem.
You can't sprinkle it on the cornflakes. I mean, so you've got to be able to shoot him up with it. And like the thing is also, she's in the profession. Okay. And so, so her having it is not necessarily a weird thing.
Well, no, it is weird because she didn't have a prescription for it, and she borrowed it from a neighbor who has a diabetic child under false pretenses.
Because her husband wanted it, and she didn't want to get herself jammed up trying to steal it from the, from her own thing, or getting a false, getting a false prescription. So what did she do? She did what her husband wanted. I need the insulin. This is it. This is going to make me better. All right. I'll try to get it for you.
Mary D. I remember Noxzema. I loved the smell and tingle.
Yes. My mom used to use Noxzema, and as a result, I did when I had a pimply face, thinking maybe it would make it go away. And for those of you who live in THC-friendly states, I always thought Noxzema smelled like hashish.
I remember the whatchamacallit. I remember the Noxzema shave cream. Let Noxzema cream your face, so the razor won't.
So the razor won't.
And then good old Joe Namath would go woo like that.
Yep.
Yeah, they used to have this song that was kind of
Farrah
like
Fawcett. Farrah Fawcett was shaving him in one of those commercials. In one of the first commercials he did.
Farrah Fawcett shaving him sounds like quite exciting. Actually, I would buy that product. But they used to have like a theme that was kind of like a, almost like a stripper theme. Noxzema medicated comfort cream.
Absolutely. And by the way, a lot of the Court TV viewers do not like Joe Namath because he pops up in the infomercials and commercials during our programming, and they have it's like Pavlov's, reaction. They see Joe Namath, they know it's a commercial, and they've seen it a few times before, and they get viscerally angry about it.
I will tell you
because they don't live in in the New York, New Jersey area where he was like Broadway Joe. He was a football god. He was the enemy to them, maybe.
No, it's the commercials. It's the commercials.
You know what? I mean, it's very sad to watch him as a pitch man for some of these ridiculous things.
Well, and probably didn't make enough money.
These are the great sponsors of Court TV. I think they're a great product.
I'm not saying anything bad about the product, Vin. I'm just saying that it's very sad to see an old man pitching things because he didn't, even though he made for the time.
Isn't that the dream? Like, I know that I have made it if I am doing a commercial for a reverse mortgage.
There you go.
Being the pitch man for the reverse mortgage is the retirement plan. Like, that's the best retirement plan you can have.
I don't really judge those guys by what they're selling because, like, sometimes they need a payday kind of thing. Like recently, like we did a show about Ice-T, and I've been watching his commercials about the car repair insurance, which is probably bogus. It probably takes advantage of people who don't have like a good car. I'm guessing that's probably the case. It's my opinion, I should say. But it's a payday for the actors. And in Joe Namath's case, he probably didn't make anything near what they make these days, so he's got to work.
He's got to work. And he worked after when he retired. He was in broadcasting.
He's in movies.
It was in movies.
Yeah, CC Ryder. I worked
with Anne Margaret.
CC Ryder. CC Ryder. CC.
With Anne Margaret.
At CC Ryder Stadium, which is like the Giants. Yes, that's pretty hot.
Yeah.
But I worked for the Jets briefly and the Giants doing audio, and they would have like the older players come in, and they'd be nice to me, and I wouldn't know who they were necessarily, but you get excited when you hear Joe Namath's going to be here today, and like they told us that, and everybody was really excited because he's like a
And
superstar. He
He's
transcends
royalty.
athletics.
well, he's royalty. He's the only one who delivered a Super Bowl for us, and we've been waiting since 1968/69 to get into the Super Bowl again. So
Okay.
Yeah, that was
everyone
that
thinks
was
that Joe Namath signed a pact with the devil because we should not have won that game, and we did. And so as a result, we have been paying the price ever since.
Okay.
That was a
And April
Jeopardy.
Diaz with a big parting gift, getting it in while I can. Happy weekend, guys, and all chatters. Enjoy the rest of your day as well.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, April. Go ahead,
Thank you,
Jonesy.
I have no idea what I was going to say.
All right, so this is from Michael Krinsky. Hey, Vinny, my mom is a 20-year-plus fellow diabetic. She received the I'm not going to say it out loud, but we can read it. It was, the thing that went in your arm back in 2021. She received it and was curious if you did as well. God bless and have a good day. Yeah, unfortunately, I did. And after I engaged in that activity, I became asthmatic. So I am very bitter about that, extremely bitter about that, because I was playing full court basketball, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, one game of pickleball, and I had my hands on my knees, out of breath, getting beat by, a 75-year-old on the other side of the court. So I'm very bitter about it. I'm not going to use any of the words because we know what happens when you do that. But I do regret it. I absolutely 1,000% regret it. And mine was the old school one. The JJ,
The original one.
Yeah, the JJ. So that's all I can say about it without getting.
It really hurt when they tested the nostrils back then.
Oh yeah, I had to do that a bunch of times. The person they come out with the things like this. All right, let me get it up there. Oh man, it's hurting my eye. Oh yeah, that was. Yeah.
I never take a flu shot or anything like that, and I never get the flu. So I wasn't going to do that activity either, but I was forced to. The radio station I worked at for 40 years, that I'm the big star at. Issued a policy that everyone had to do it. And so I was faced with leaving this station after 36 years or something like that, or doing it. And for the sake of radio, I did it.
Yep. That was all right. We're not going to get into that discussion. I'm just telling you personal experience. I am not as healthy as I was before. And I'm really
my personal experience that I didn't. I had 104 fever. I had the cocktail, and then I took the other things, and not a problem on that. So thank God. Sorry about your situation.
Yeah. So now I've got to take something else. I've got to take something else every day just to play pickleball.
Maybe if you cut down on the drinking.
Listen, Jonesy. Listen, Jonesy. My blue heaven. There we go. All right. Well, it's about that time. I don't want to run out of time, but it is that time. Big thank you to our mod squad: Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Sube, and Ashley Bouchard. Appreciated. Thank you to the great chats. Thank you for the amazing super chats and the support. The great conversation, both on the air and, of course, in our legendary chat room. Any parting words for the folks?
Well, Ben, I think we might let them know we may be doing an earlier show this week.
Oh, yes. So next week, I'll be on tour. I won't be around. So Wednesday, we're going to try for a Wednesday tangent podcast, as long as everything aligns. So keep your eye open for an early tangent next week.
And then I will say this: hasta la vista, tangentistas.
There you go. Oh, and also keep an eye on the Vinny Originale store, because there will be a new Al Originale design.
Original. That's what you go with that.
Original. Okay.
Original.
There'll be an Original a shirt available involving the Tangenistas.
Yes.
Jonesy, where can folks find you?
Well, I'll be DJing in West Orange, New Jersey, in the freezing cold tomorrow for the annual Winter Wiffle Ball game that takes place in Vinny's hometown, West Orange, New Jersey. Every year, I send you a report of my location.
Yeah, say hi to all my West Orange folks. That's awesome. That's the second biggest day in West Orange. The biggest is the St. Patty's Day. The St. Patty's Day parade is the biggest day in West Orange. Yeah. That's huge. But the wiffle ball, that is amazing.
Yeah, that is
the best sport ever invented. All right, guys. I'm just trying to cue everything up here. I got to get everything. I got to get it all queued up. You know what I mean?
Vinny and I will be back on Monday night on Closing Arguments, 8 to 9. So
all right.
We'll see you then.
Yep. And don't forget to watch me every night, 8 o'clock. Court TV, Closing Arguments, 9 o'clock, Vinny Politan Investigates. 2 hours of live true crime on television. The only guy in the biz doing it, with great help from guys like Al. Yeah. There you go, folks. Say goodbye, Jonesy.
Goodbye, Jonesy.
See all of you in court. Somebody say tangent, tangent. Somebody say podcast, podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see all of you in court. Somebody say